We begin today the Gemara on Daf Hey Amud Aleph, about 10 lines from the top of the page. Sagt the Gemara, Rabbi Yochanan kimati lahaikra. When Rabbi Yochanan came to the following pasuk, Bachi, so he cried. The pasuk says, Vatisiseni boy levali chinam. You have persuaded me to swallow him up for no reason. This refers to the Yetzer Hara, which comes and is mekatrig and persuades the Eibishter about things that the people do that are not good. So he said, Eved sherabe mesisin loy. A servant that his master could be persuaded, Vinisis, and he becomes persuaded. Takana yeshloi. Is there any way that he can help himself? Rabbi Yochanan kimati lahaikra. When Rabbi Yochanan came to the following pasuk, Bachi would also cry. He said, Heim b'kdoishav lo yamin. The Eibusha says, even in the ones that are holy, I also do not trust them, I don't believe in them. Meaning that a person, as long as he's alive in this world, it's possible that he will not continue being a tzaddik. Similar to what it says, that al tamim b'atzmacha ad yom meisach. So he said, if the Eibusha does not even trust those that are holy, so b'man yamin. So who does he trust? So the Gemara brings an incident in connection to this. Yom echad, one day, Rabbi Yochanan was going on his way. Chazye lahu gavre, so he saw this individual that have a mankit te'eni. He was collecting figs. Shavek hanach de matu, he left those that were ripe, and v'shakol hanach de loy matu. He took the figs that were not ripe. Amalei, so Rabbi Yochanan said to him, Lav haini mali tvei, mailan tvei, aren't the ones that are ripe better? They're good to eat right now? Amalei, so he answered him, Hani l'orcha beinan. I'm taking these figs, I need them for later to take them on the way. So Hani notron, these figs are going to stay fresh for later, and Vahani loy notron. And the figs that are ripe now are not going to remain fresh, they're going to become, they're going to rot later. So Amar, Rabbi Yochanan, when he saw this, he said, Hainu d'chsiv, this is the pasuk that we quoted before that says, Heim b'kdoishav lo yamin, that even those that are holy, the Eibusha does not trust them. So Rashi explains, meaning that even when you see someone that is young, but it looks like he's already ripe, and he's already a tzaddik, he's a kaddish, but nevertheless, the Eibusha does not trust him, and he could go sour, he could rot later, and therefore, the Eibusha could take away his life. Dr. Gemara, Eini, but is this true? But Vahu, Talmide, the Have B'Shivuse de Rabbi Alexandri. There was this student that was in the area of Rabbi Alexandri. V'shachiv, when he passed away. Ad Zutter, when he was young. Avamar, Rabbi Alexandri said, Iboy Haim Rabbanon, if this student wanted, Havachaya, he would have lived. In other words, he wasn't going in a good way, and therefore the Eibusha took away his life. Now, if it's true, like we said before, that even someone that's holy, the Eibusha doesn't trust, and it's possible that he passes away, maybe at that point he was a tzaddik, but nevertheless the Eibusha did not trust him, and the Eibusha took away his life. Answers the Gemara, no. This student, Rabbi Alexandri, knew that he was not from those kedoshim, but rather he was someone that was mevayed by Rabbi. He went against his teachers, and therefore he deserved to pass away. So the Gemara, Rabbi Yochanan kimati lahaikra. When Rabbi Yochanan came to the following pasuk, Bachi, he cried. The pasuk says, "V'karafti aleichem lemishpat," and I will bring you to judgment. V'hayisi eid memayer, and I will be very quickly a witness against you. V'machashvim, v'menafim, those that do kishiv, and those that are menayif, inappropriate relationships. U'benishbam lasheker, swearing falsely. U'ba'ishke schar sacher, and those that do not pay workers on time. So he said about this pasuk, Eved sherabe mekarvil l'dainai, a servant that his master brings him to judgment, and also is very quick about saying testimony against him. Takana yeshloi, is there any way that he could help himself? Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, another thing Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai pointed out about this pasuk, Oilanu woe to us sheshakal aleinu hakasuv kaleis kechamuris, that in this pasuk we see that the Eibusha makes equivalent lighter avedis with much more severe avedis. Because you have over here mechashvim u'menafim, which are terrible things, and then afterwards it says oishkis schar sachir, which is something which is much lighter, not paying a worker on time, and nevertheless the pasuk says that the Eibusha judges for both equally. Amar Reish Lakish said, Kol amate dinoi shall get. A person that tilts the judgment or the justice of a ger and he doesn't judge him justly. Kilomata dinishal maila. It's like he's judging the Eibishter, not justly. Shenema, because in the continuation of that pasuk it says, Umati ger, that he tilts the judgment of a ger not to be justice. And so he darshened, Umati ksiv. It says Mati, the Eibishter is speaking about himself, that this is like you judging me inappropriately. Rab Chanina bar Papa, so Rab Chanina bar Papa said about this. Also, going on the continuation of that pasuk, so on the conclusion there it says, by a person that doesn't have Veda and he regrets it. Meichelin loy miyad. The Eibishter immediately forgives them for this. Shanama, because the pasuk says, V'lo yireyuni, and they do not fear me. Ha yireyuni, but if they do fear me, Meichelin lahem miyad. The Eibishter immediately forgives them. Rabbi Yochanan, Kimati lahaikra bachi. Rabbi Yochanan, there's another pasuk when he came to it, he cried. Ki es kol maisa lekim yavi b'mishpat. That all the things that a person does, the Eibishter brings to judgment, al kol nelam, and all the things that are nelam from a person, that are hidden from a person. What does this mean? Eved, a servant, sharabai shaykel eshkagis kizdainis, that his master considers to be equal, whether things that he did that are shaygig, that's what nela means, things that were hidden from him and he didn't realize, and things that was dainis, the actions that he did that were bemazed. And the Eibishter judges equally. Takana yashloi, could he fix this? Mai al kol nelam. Now the Gemara is darshan, according to Rashi, the Gemara is darshan the word kol nelam, that a person is judged for everything. What is this everything? Amarav, even the tiniest thing, like you annoyed another person, which is if you kill a lice in front of your friend, and he got disgusted by it. Shmuel lama zaharak b'fnei chavei, person that spits in front of his friend, v'nimas, and the friend was disgusted. Even such a tiny thing, the Eibishter judges you for this. My imtoiv v'imra. In the end of that pasuk there, it says that the Eibishter judges the person for the good and for the bad. Why is a person being judged for things that he did, which are good? Amri debei Rabbi Yanai. So they said in the yeshiva of Rabbi Yanai, Zeh noisin tzedakah lani b'farhesia. This is a person that gives tzedakah to a poor person in public and he embarrasses him. Ki hod Rabbi Yanai chazi ala ogavra. Rabbi Yanai saw this individual, the kayav zuzah lani b'farhesia. He gave someone tzedakah very publicly. It's better you shouldn't have given him from now that you did give him, because you embarrassed him. The Ber Shila, they said, what's the good that a person is judged for? Person that gives tzedakah to a woman privately. He brings her to be, people should be suspicious about her, that she's having a relationship with him. Rav says, this is a person that sends meat to his wife on Erev Shabbos to prepare, and it's right before Shabbos, and there's no time to take out the chaylev, the fats that are not permitted, and then he's being machshel her to serve it in a way that it's not kosher. So the Gemara asks about this, but v'harave mishage. Rava would send the meat to his house, to his wife, right before Shabbos to prepare and take care of. So the Gemara answers, Shani, Bas Rav Chisda. Rava was married to the daughter of Rav Chisda. So the daughter of Rav Chisda is different. The Kimlei Begava the Bekia. Because he knows that she was very proficient in the halachas, exactly which fats has to be taken out and which don't. So therefore it could rely on her even out of Shabbos. Another pasuk here, Rabbi Yochanan Kimati Laikra Bachi. When Rabbi Yochanan came to the following pasuk, he also cried. That there'll be a time when it will be found by you bad things and tzaris. So what does this mean? A servant that his teacher, his master that is, brings him rois and tzaris both. There's anything that he could do about this? So the Gemara explains, my rois v'tzaris. What does it mean when it says rois and tzaris? Sorry. Amarav rois shenaset tzarei zulazu. We're talking about bad things that happen to a person that are at tzara one to another. They disturb one another. What does this mean? Kagay zibura va'akrava. Person that got a bite from a bee, from some kind of a bee, and then he got a bite from a scorpion. So now he has a big problem, as Rashi explains, because in order for a person to heal himself from a bite of a bee, so you have to soak it in hot water, and to save yourself from the bite of from a scorpion, that is hot water, because a scorpion is cold, and from the bite of this bee it has to be in cold water. So now you can't heal yourself, because you can't heal it not in cold water or not in hot water, because they're contradiction to one another. Shmuel says, going back according to Rashi. Sorry, when it says Shmuel Lamar, this goes back to the pasuk before when it says that David should judge a person even for what's good. What does this mean? This is a person that he does not see to it that a poor person should have food to eat and on a regular day. But then when this person is mamish b'shas deichakai, only then, when he's mamish pressed, he has zero, then he comes and gives him money. Rava said, there's a saying, people say, Zuze la'alala lo shchiche. Money for tvua, the word alala means tvua, to buy just grain, to be able to feed on a regular day, for that this person doesn't have. L'tlisa shchiach. But then, on a time when he has mamish zero, and people start having rachmanis on him, and they give him money, so here he even has extra money to hang extra grain on his basket. What it means, the pasuk in Parshas Nitzavim, where it says, "V'chor api b'yomahu," they says, "I'll be angry on that day." V'azaftim, I will leave them. V'starti ponamiyem, and I will hide my face from them. Amar Rav Bardlis said, "Batavumi Amar Rav," in the name of Rav, "Kol she'ena behester ponim." Anybody that does not experience this hester ponim, eina mehem, is not from Klal Yisrael, because it goes on all the Yidden. Kol she'ena b'v'hoyel lechol. Whoever does not experience what it says over there in the end of that pasuk, v'hoyel lechol, that the goyim will consume and take from the Yidden their money and so on. Eina mehem, he's not part of Klal Yisrael. So the Gemara says, now Amru lei Rabbanon l'Rava, the students, the Rabbanon said to Rava, Mar loy behester ponim misei. We don't see by you, by the master, no hester ponim. And v'loy b'v'hoyel lechol yisei. And also we don't see how goyim come and consume and take away from your possessions. So how are you included in this pasuk? Amalahu, so he answered them and said, Mia disu kamim meshadrana b'tzina b'shvar malka. Do you know privately how much money I send to pay off shvar malka, that they shouldn't bother me? So that's so they weren't aware of this. Now the Gemara says, Afila hachi, even after all of this, Yav be'Rabbanan inayu, because the Rabbanan put their eyes at him and they sort of ayin hara. In other words, they thought that he was not being affected by the government that was taking money from him. Adahachi. So in between, what happened was Shadr the Shvar Malka v'Garbu. They sent a messenger from Shvar Malka and they took away everything from him. So we see when the Rabbanan look at something, even if it wasn't necessarily true, nevertheless it has a very strong effect. Any place where the Chachamim put their eyes on something in a negative way, that could bring either death or poverty. It says weiter there in the pasuk in Parshas Nitzavim, "V'hanoichi haster aster pane b'yemahu." The Eibusha says, "I will hide myself on that day." Amar Rava, so Rava says, "Amar Hakadosh Baruch Hu." The Eibusha says, "Afal pi she'starti panai mehem." Even though I will hide my face from them, but nevertheless, b'chaloi madaber b'y. But in a dream, I will still speak and I will still reveal myself to them. Rashi says the diak is bayom, only by daytime. But by night, and in a vision by night, the Eibusha still comes and repairs. Rav Yosef says, Yadai netuya aleinu. The Eibusha's hand is still stretched out on us, even in that time when there's a concealment. Shanel, as the pasuk says, Uvitzel Yadai kisisicha, with the shadow of my hand I cover you. So the Gemara brings an incident about this. Rabbi Shua ben Chananya havakoi be Keser. Rabbi Shua ben Chananya was in front of the Keser. Achvilei hahu apikorse. So this apikaitis that was standing there in front of the king made a signal to him that was saying, Amed ahadrinu mare la'ape minei. You're a nation that its master has turned away his face from you. Achvilei, Rabbi Shua ben Chananya responded to him and signaled back to him, Yadei netuya aleinu, that the Eibusha's hand is still stretched out over us. Amalei Kesel Rabbi Shua, so the cases saw these signaling to one another. So he asks Rabbi Shua, Ma yachvilach, what did he signal to you? So he said, Amad ahadrinu mare la'ape minei. He was telling me that the Eibusha turned his face away from us. And I signaled to him, Yadai netuya aleinu, that his hand is the Eibusha's hand is still stretched out over us. Amru leilahu mina. Then they said, the ministers by the king there said to this this apikaitis, my achvis lei, do you know what Rabbi Shua ben Chananya, again, what did you signal to Rabbi Shua ben Chananya? So he said, I signaled to him, Amed adrinu mare apimine, that the Eibusha turned away his face from them. And then Omay achvilach, do you know what he signaled back to you? So lo yadaina, he said, no, I don't know. Amru, so the minister said, Gavre de lo yada mai machvilei, a person that doesn't know what they're signaling to him, b'machai, with a signal, he doesn't even understand that such a kind of thing, yachvi kami malke, so he should be making these signals in front of a king. Such a foolish person, he should be making these kinds of motions and signals in front of a king. Afku, they took him out, v'katlu, and they killed him. This is a Gemara that's quoted, the Rebbe quotes it very often in Chassidus, that a person that makes any kind of signals in front of a king is chayiv misa. It's interesting because in the actual story of the Gemara here, it seems like the pshat is that he was killed because, not stam because he made a signal, but because he was such a foolish person that he couldn't understand these kinds of signals. And what is he doing standing in front of the king? But in Chassidus, it's always quoted as that the merida b'malchus, just episode metzius, that you're making any signal in front of the king, that itself is a mechayev a person misa.
Who did the kid? Who was killed?
This Apikaitis, yeah.
I didn't understand.
Yeah. The Gemara says, "Weiter na ki kanicha nafshe der Rabbi Shiur ben Chananya." When Rabbi Shiur ben Chananya was passing away, Omru le Rabbanan, the Rabbanan said to him, "My tav elam apikorsin." What are we going to do now with all these apikorsin which bother us with all these questions? So Rabbi Shiur ben Chananya was the one that always would answer them. Amalahem. So he said to them, it says a pasuk of the eitzam mibanim. When the advice, when the understanding goes away from the children, so then their wisdom also goes sour. So you don't have to worry, they're not going to ask you any questions. Because once Eitzah goes away from the children, from the Yidden, so the Chachma amongst the nations of the world also is sour. Or he brought a different pasuk. It says, Vayomer, that Yaakov said, Nisa v'nelcha ve'elcha lenegdecha, that I will travel and I will go lenegdecha, corresponding to you. So Yaakov and Esav, he's following Yaakov, they're going to travel one corresponding to the other. So it's the same thing also with Yidden and Goyim, that whatever Chachma there's by Yidden, then there's by Goyim. If not, not. Rabbi Ilo was climbing the ladder, going up to the yeshiva or to the place where Rabbi Bashila was learning. He heard a child that was reading the following pasuk where it says, Kihine Yaitza Harem, the Eibusha creates the mountains, Ubayre Ruach, and he creates the spirit. And the Eibusha tells the person everything that he was talking in this world, even his idle chatter. Omar, so Rabbi Ilo, when he heard this, he said, Eved, Sharabe Magid Loi Masichai, a servant that his master could tell him everything he says, Takana Yashloi, is there any way that he could help himself? Masichai, what does this mean that the master tells him everything that he speaks in this world? Rav explained, even an extra idle chatter, that there is between a wife and a husband, Magidim Loil. The Eibusha is going to come and repeat it back to you and tell you and judge you for this, of things that you said that were not appropriate. Magidim Loil Adam b'shas misa, after he passes away. So we see from this that this idle chatter between husband and wife is not appropriate. So the Gemara asks on this, Any, is this true? But we have the following story. Rav Kahane, there was a story with Rav Kahane, Habegoni to Sipuriyah de Rav. He went and he was lying under the bed of Rav, Vishamei, and he heard the Sach, Vitzachak, Vasatzrachav. He heard Rav was speaking in idle chatter and he was laughing and he had the matter of relations. And Omar, so Rav Kahane said, Domi Pumi de Rav, the mouth of Rav is like a commander like a person that didn't taste his food forever, the way he was talking. So now Rav heard that Rav Kahane is there. Omale Kahane Puk, Kahane go out of here. Lav Oidachara, this is not customary for you to be here now. So we see that even Rav himself spoke this way. So it must be that it's okay. So the Gemara answers, like Kashi, this is not a question. In a case that he has to appease his wife, then this is allowed. And if he does not have to appease her and it's extra, so then he's going to be judged for this. It says, we had this Gemara in Brachis, and I think it says over there that that he says that he has to see what the Alpi Torah, what has to be done. The Eibusha says, if you're not listening to me, in hiding, my soul cries because of Geva, because of their greatness, because of their Gaiva. So the Gemara explains what this means. Makam yesh leila HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Eibusha Kaviyachal has a place, and Mistarim Shmai, and it's called Mistarim, a hidden place. So that's what it means, Mistarim here. And what does it mean, Mipnei Geva? Omer Rav Shmuel by Yitzchak, Mipnei Gavasan She Yisrael, She Nitna Mehem, V'Nitna Lev Dekechavim. The Eibusha cries because of the greatness of Yidden that's taken from them and given to the Goyim. Rav Shmuel ben Achmeni Yomar, Mipnei Gavasan Shel Malchus Shemayim. The Eibusha cries because of the greatness of the kingdom of heaven that was also taken, Shenitla the Bach had, that was taken from them. Frag the Gemara, is the Kaviyachal a concept of crying by the Eibusha? Rav Papa said, Ein atzivus l'fnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu. There's no depression, there's no crying by the Eibusha. Shenema hoid v'hada l'fanav, oiz v'chedva b'mkaimai. That the splendor and beauty by the Eibusha, and there's only strength and happiness by the Eibusha's place. And it says the Gemara like Kashi, it's not a question. Ha b'bati gvoi. And Hababati Broi, in the inner chambers, Kaviyachol, there is crying by the Eibishter, but in the outer chambers there isn't. And even in the outer chambers, you're going to say that there's no thing of crying. But Vaksiv, the pasuk says, "Vayikra Hashem Elokim tzvais bayomahu lebchi ulemisped ulekarcha lachgersak." The Eibishter announced on that day to cry and to eulogize and so on. So we see that this is something the Eibishter announces even in the outer chambers, even openly. And the Eibishter is crying. And says the Gemara, Shani Chorban Beis Hamikdash. The Chorban Beis Hamikdash is different. The Afila Malachi Shalom Bachu. Even the Malachim of peace, they also cried. Shanema Hein Arelim Tzaku Chutza Malachi Shalom Mar Yivkoyan. They cried bitterly. So that's different by the time of the Beis Hamikdash. It says over there in the pasuk, V'damoya Tidma V'ateired Eini Dima, that there's tears and the tears are coming down. Ki Nishba Eider Hashem. Because the Eider Hashem, the Yidden, that are called Eider Hashem, were captured. What does this mean? Omer Rabbi Lazar, Shalosh, Demois, Halalu Lama. What is the expression of 3 times tears that it says in this pasuk? Why is the Eibishter crying here 3 times? Achas al Mikdash Risha, one for the first Beis Hamikdash. Achas al Mikdash Sheni, the second for the second Beis Hamikdash. V'achas al Yisrael shegalim mimekayim, and the third time for the Yidden that were exiled from their home, from their place in Eretz Yisrael. Another pshat here is achas al bittul Torah. The third time is for the bittul Torah that the Eibishter sees in the world. The one that says that it's the Yidden that were exiled, so that's understood. The Yidden are captured and they were exiled. But according to the opinion that says that the Eibishter cries the third time for bittul Torah, how is bittul Torah connected to this that it says that the Yidden are captured? And says the Gemara, Kivin Shagalu Yisrael Mim Kaiman. When Yidden are being exiled from their place, there's no greater bittul Torah than this, that Yidden can't learn Torah properly. Taner Rabbanan and Abraisa we learned, Shloisha Kadosh Baruch Hu Beicha Aleim B'chol Yom. There are 3 individuals that the Eibishter cries on them every day. One is Al Shev Shalasik B'Torah Ve'eino Isik, someone that can learn Torah and he doesn't. And also Val Shi'i Ef Shalasik B'Torah Ve'isik, and someone that can't learn Torah and does. That's a simple translation of the Gemara, which is a little bit difficult to understand. Why would the Eibishter cry for someone that can't learn Torah, but he pushes himself to learn anyways? So the Marsha, No. So the Marsha says that the pshat in the Gemara is actually different. When it says over here, someone that could learn Torah, ve'eino Isik, what it means is not that he doesn't learn Torah. Eino Isik, it doesn't say ve'eino Isik b'Torah. It says Eino Isik, it means he doesn't do anything. This is a person that could learn Torah, and instead he does nothing. He doesn't learn Torah, and he doesn't even go to work either. He stops sitting and doing nothing. That's what the Eibush is crying for. And when it says Val Shi'ev Shalasik b'Torah ve'Isik, what it means is he can't learn Torah. Why can't he learn Torah? Because he gets himself busy with all kinds of other things that distract him. And therefore, Va'isik, when it says here Va'isik, it means he keeps himself busy with other things and he doesn't learn Torah. Not that he learns Torah. Adarabi, he gets himself busy with other things. The third thing, Val Parnes HaMizgoa Ala Tzibur. And a person that's a leader in a tzibur, and he's haughty, and he takes advantage of his position of leadership over the people. Dr. Gemara, Rabbi have a knockit Sefer Kinnis. Rabbi was holding the Sefer Kinnis of Eicha in his hands. V'kakari begavei was reading from it. Kimat alai psukim, when he came to the pasuk where it says Hishlich mishamayim oretz, that the Eibishter threw it down from heaven. Nofal miyode. So the Sefer Eicha that he was holding in his hands fell down. Amar, he said, Me igre ram lebira mikta. This pasuk is saying that the Eibishter threw the Yidden down from a high rooftop to a deep pit. Masha says that Rebbe was probably standing on a high place and the sefer that he was holding fell down very low to a deep place, and that's why he said this expression. This is the source of the famous expression that's brought in Chassidus all the time regarding the neshama coming to the world. Me igre rama lebira mikta. Rabbi v'Rabchia have a shakli v'azli b'orcha. They went together on the way. Kimati la'u masa. They arrived to a certain city. Amri, so they said, is there some Talmud Chacham here that we can talk with him in learning? Nezel v'nekapel apei, we want to go and be makabel panim to go and receive him. Amri, so they told them, yes, there is a Talmud Chacham here, and he's blind. Amalei Rabchia said to Rabbi, Sivat, you sit here, do not be easy about the fact that you're the Nasi and it's not befitting for you to go and visit him. I will go and I will greet this Talmud Chacham that's blind. But what happened? Rebbe grabbed onto Rabchia and he went along with him to this Talmud Chacham that was blind. And then when they were getting ready to depart from him, Amaluhu, so he benched Rebbe and Rab Chia as follows. Atem, higbaltem, panim hanirim, ve'enim royim. You came and greeted a face that could be seen, but cannot see you. Tizku, you should merit, lahakbil, panim haroyim, ve'enim nirim. You should come and merit to greet the Eibishter's face, that he sees you, and the ve'enim nirim, and the Eibishter can't be seen. This is the bracha he gave them. So Amalei, so Rebbe said to Reb Chia, Eicha Hashtra, look at this now. Manasan Mahai Brachasa, you would have held back from me this bracha if I wouldn't have joined you. Amrulei, so the students said to Rebbe, Miman Shmi'alach, from who did you hear about this? How did you know that it would be so important for you to go and greet this Talmud Chacham? From here, where did you hear this, that this is such a big milah? So he answered them, Mipirkei, the Rabbi Yaakov Shmi'alei. I heard this from the drasha of Rabbi Yaakov. The Rabbi Yaakov ish kfar Chitaya. Rabbi Yaakov, he was a person that lived in a village Chitaya. Have a makabel apei the Rabbi kol yoyme. He would go and greet his teacher every single day. Kikosh, when he became older, it was difficult for him to go. Amalei, so his teacher told him, Lo nitztayer mar, the lo yochel mar, don't have so much pain to come and greet me every day, because you can't. Amalei, so Rabbi Yaakov answered him, Mi zuter, my dechsiv behu b'Rabbanon. Is it nothing for you in your eyes, small to you in your eyes? This that it says by the Rabbanon, V'yichi oid lo netzach, that they live forever. Lo yira shachas, they will not see shachas, which means gehenim. Ki yira chachamim yemusu, that they see the chachamim when they pass away. So what does this mean? He said, if a person that sees Chachamim, he sees the face of a Talmud Chacham after he passes away, so he'll live forever and not go into Gehenim, in their lifetime, how much more so if I have the opportunity to come and greet you, I'm going to come every single day. Talk to Gemara, Rav Idi, Avua de Rab Yaakov Baridi. Rav Idi, the father of Rab Yaakov Baridi, have a ruggle, so he was customary to have a ozel tlose yarchi borche. He would travel 3 months on the road, and v'chad yoyme bebeirav, and he was only 1 day in the yeshiva to learn, and then he would travel 3 months back home. So Rashi actually says that he would leave his house right after Pesach, and he would travel 3 months, and then he would be there for a day and come back home. 6 months he would be away from home, and he would come back home for Sukkot. And Marsha adds to that, so that means that Shavuos he actually was not home. He was home for Pesach and Sukkot. Rashi said to be Mesameach, his wife for Yantiv, but Shavuos he wasn't home according to Rashi. So the Gemara says, they referred to him as the student of the yeshiva of 1 day. This is an expression that this is where it comes from in the Gemara. Cholish daite. So he felt very bad about this nickname they gave him. He said about himself, I became a joke by my friends. Rabbi Yochanan said to him, I beg of you, don't be angry about this, and this will bring punishment to the other students that are mocking you. So to calm down the other students to realize the big maila of Rav Idi that traveled and only for 1 day, so he went and he darshan v'darash. It says as follows: V'oisi, that is, and me, yoim yidrishun. They seek me every single day, v'das dracha yicha, and they look to know my ways. So what does this mean? They only seek the Eibishter by day and not by night. So what does this mean? This comes to say, person that learns Torah even just 1 day of the year, like this Rav Idi, that traveled to come just 1 day, the Eibishter says, I consider it as if he's learning Torah the entire year. So 1 day goes against the whole year. He's found also in the negative. The pasuk says by the Meraglim, the number of days that you went to go to Eretz Yisrael, which were 40 days. So corresponding to that, even they're going to be 40 years in the Midbar. So the question is, so did they sin for 40 years? They didn't go to the Eretz Yisrael for 40 years. They went there for 40 days. So the same thing, this comes to tell you, person that does Aveira even 1 day in a year, so then it's as if he was Aveira every single day of the year, and therefore it was 40 years. And the same thing also in the good, a person comes to learn Torah 1 day, so it's as if he learned Torah the entire year. But apparently it's only if he's traveling the entire year to get there to learn Torah for that day.